too much going on.
Welcome to Title Talk, a podcast for real estate investors where we cover tips, tricks, and trends in the industry.
This podcast is all about providing valuable insights to help you maximize your investment opportunities.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, Title Talk is the place to stay in the know and get inspired.
So grab your headphones, tune in, and let's talk title.
Hello. Happy 2024. Welcome to, is this our first episode
It's
of
our
Title
first
Talk?
Title Talk of 2024.
Wow. How you doing, Dina?
Good, how are you?
Great to see you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year, Rahima.
Happy New Year.
Lots of love.
So
You have to
happy
hold
you're
the mic.
here.
Okay.
Oh,
You have to hold the
Happy New Year.
And so, guys, we are here live at Dina's mom's house. She's cooked us a meal, a Lebanese delicious meal, but we're here because we're going to make vision boards today. Now, I've had a vision board. Actually, I'm going to get a little girls here. So, guys, don't. I have had a vision board in front of my toilet since
It
April.
makes sense, right? Because that's the one place where you have to sit and look.
I stare right at it. Since April of 2019, and it's actually it's pretty crazy because if you see it, I wish I could have. If I remembered, I would have. Anyhow, if you look at the vision board, almost everything on there has happened.
Wow.
The house, it looks uncannily like my home. The car came and went. I got better. Upgrades. So much happened. We went to Amsterdam. I found so many things just like synchronistically took place, and I started researching the science on vision boards and why they are. It's not only that you're attracting things to you, which you are. If you're thinking about things, you're attracting those things, and that's a real thing. But subconsciously, when we program our minds to see specific images, our brain looks for ways to connect the dots to create or find those images and bring them into your experience. It's just how it works. I'm going to give you the example of like corporate America. So you can drive by or watch TV and see a commercial for Jersey Mike's. You might see a billboard for Jersey Mike's. You might hear a thing that or two about it, but it's not really in your conscious mind. And then all of a sudden, it's lunchtime one day, and you decide, hey, I'm hungry. I think I want Jersey Mike's. And there you are. You're at Jersey Mike's. And it's just one of those things. So corporate America understands how to subconsciously program the human mind. And why would we not want to take that and bring it to ourselves, right? Why let other things, other people, other businesses program what's happening to you, what you're bringing into your experience, rather than you program for yourself what experiences and what things you want to bring into your life. And so for me, because my vision board is now so outdated and has pretty much been checked off, there's a few things on there, like a certain cash balance that I want to have in my bank that have not hit yet. So I'm going to
carry those over or add some more?
I'm going to carry it over.
Okay.
I need to hit it. So I'm going to carry that. When I get home, I'm going to take this home with me today. I'm going to take that little piece off and I'm going to apply that here because it hasn't happened yet. Everything else did though.
That's amazing.
So there's only one thing that has not yet materialized on the board. So for me, I'm more than a believer. I live it.
Yeah.
It's the reality. So I implore anybody who's watching right now who thinks, oh my God, this is just so lame, to suspend disbelief for a moment. Give yourself an opportunity to dream a bit and see what you can achieve by programming your mind. One last thing before I turn it over to everybody else to talk. Have you ever gotten into your car and driven somewhere and you got to that destination and you're like, how the hell did I get here?
Like automatically, you're just programmed.
Autopilot.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How often does that happen to you?
Like daily.
Okay. Every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So science research has shown that 95% of what happens in your day
It's autopilot.
is autopilot
Yeah.
program,
Yeah.
unconscious. unconscious program.
Mhm.
Unconscious program.
95%?
95% of what is going on in your day is
And the
unconscious.
trouble is that your
crazy.
thoughts
Yes.
become that way too. Then your thoughts become unconscious programs.
Yes.
So you're not even thinking about, you're just reliving the same day over and over again. It's a really bad version of Groundhog Day. You're just over and over and
I
over.
mean-
never liked that movie.
It's because when you watch it, you're like, this is terrible.
Like,
but
this is terrible.
but this is really a reality for a lot of people. Like many people live in Groundhog Day. I have to say that my life changes all the time. Things are constantly, coming in and out of my life, and not all of that's comfortable, right? Not all change is comfortable, but all change will grow you. So you've got to embrace it. You've got to look for the opportunities. And I've got some big visions for what I'm looking for over the next, call it 5 years, because it took 5 years to pretty much materialize all of what I had experienced. So I'm going to give myself another 5. So guys, don't rip your vision boards up in a year.
Be like, it didn't
And be
happen
like,
in
it didn't
2024.
work.
So
When-
I give up. What?
This is
Give
dumb.
yourself some time, guys. Give
Jamila
yourself some
Gina
time.
and Rima, you're
Yeah.
dumb. This is dumb. It's not. Just give yourself a chance and put this document in a place that you will look every day. Not just like fleetingly, but like spend some time looking at it, which is why I put it in my restroom.
Yeah,
Well,
because everybody needs to pee.
Yeah, and not just look at it because you want to physically see it, but it'll give you the opportunity to feel prepared for when those things materialize in your life, right? So I think that's the thing I really like about vision boards is you can kind of get out of your head and get into your heart and get into moving yourself mentally into feeling what it's going to feel like to have all those things materialize for you.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Where do you plan to put yours?
I haven't decided yet because I've never done a big one. I asked you, so mine are normally small
Okay, and full of images.
and full of images.
Okay.
Very cluttered.
Yeah.
Very cluttered.
So difficult to I think I put too many on my last one, to be honest. I'm looking at 5 core images that I'm going to be focusing on. And I think less is more because, there's certain things that I want. Like, for instance, within 5 years, I no longer want to fly commercial. I don't want to fly commercial.
Well, then you need a jet
I need a jet.
on your board.
Within 5 years, I need a jet. So
Yeah.
a jet is going on my board. And
I love that.
and I will within 5 years find a way to have that.
Well, maybe we'll do title talk from the jet.
Then, because you'll have a jet.
Yeah.
Final
So I'll
old
just say-
use.
So I'll just say, hey, I need the jet.
Yes.
Bring the jet.
Yes.
Yes.
Where's the jet?
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
family jet.
It's a family jet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Where are you gonna put yours, Rima?
Where's am I going to put my vision board?
Yeah.
Oh, in my bathroom.
Okay, same place.
Same place. I have one in my bathroom right now.
Okay. When did you make your last one?
2022.
Okay.
2022.
How has it shaped out for you?
Better than I thought it was going to shape up.
Okay, so you're a little modest.
The thing is that it shaped out unexpectedly in the sense that I had wanted a certain amount of property under my belt.
Okay.
And I got all the property that I wanted, but not in the normal ways. I got them because I couldn't sell them. So they came to me.
Oh.
They materialized for me. They came exactly
How-
the way.
How is not the question, and we don't care about how.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
never how.
it's never how.
It's never how.
It's-
Yeah, and it's typically who and
Mhm.
and what brings it there, right? So if you got what you wanted, you got what you asked for. So quit complaining.
I'm not complaining. It occurred to me that I said, man, I wanted that many houses in my portfolio as rentals, and I got them. I didn't expect them to come this way, but I got them.
There you go.
It all worked out.
So how many of you guys out there, we would love to see in the comments, have a vision board that you've done for 2024 or are gonna do one now because we are inspiring you to create one?
Let's see in the chat. Give us some of your
What are you going
Your
to focus on, Dina? What are you focusing on in your?
I'm doing like 3 different categories in mine. So
Okay.
like different, kind of one is going to be like the play version, like places I want to visit, people I want to, create fun memories and experiences with. The other is going to just be really focused on like just the balance of like health and business. And then the other is just going to be just like a lot of positivity. You know, I think my world would not be the same if I didn't fill it with positivity. So that's going to continue.
Keep it up. Keep it up. I love that. I think that's great.
We do have some special guests that are going to come on with us today too.
We do. And so guys, this is Title Talk. So we are going to get into a little bit of the market and what's going on. I before we start getting into the arts and crafts, I want to talk a little bit about what I've been talking to a lot of really smart people, because I don't consider myself an incredibly intelligent person, but I am inquisitive, and I find incredibly intelligent people, and I ask good questions so that I can make good predictions and figure out what I'm going to be walking into 2024. So here are some of the things that we are noticing. So the lock-in effect, which was what we saw prop up the market in all of 2023, and that was the folks who have a 2%, 3%, 4% mortgage. And that is 64 to 70% of all of U.S. homes. 64 to 70% of all U.S. homes.
That's crazy.
Have a 2, 3, or 4% mortgage on them because either everybody bought or refinanced when the rates were low.
Yep.
So 64 to 70% of that inventory never made it onto the MLS when people had a reason to sell, and that's what propped up values in 2023. It's the reason why we didn't have a crash. When economists were calling for a market crash, it didn't happen. Why? There was no inventory to crash the market.
Right.
So we still had people making offers, although the market slowed down. We definitely had a small dips in value. We did not have a crash.
Right.
And a crash.
We had a correction.
We had a slight correction.
Adjustment, yeah.
An adjustment, and it was needed because pricing just went way overboard. Anyhow, unaffordability was definitely an issue, and it continues to be an issue. These are the things that I'm looking at right now. The 10-year Treasury yield, which is what's actually tied to mortgage rates. It's not the Fed fund rate, guys. I want to make sure that we all understand the difference between the Fed fund rate and the 10-year yield and the 10-year Treasury bond yield. The Treasury bond yield is what is tied to mortgage rates. So when the Fed announced that they're planning a soft landing, meaning a minimum of 3 decreases in rates in the Fed fund rate, the bond yield is what dropped mortgage rates immediately. The Fed fund rate did not drop,
right?
But we started seeing a decrease in mortgage rates, and there was
almost
almost identically in time. And so that tells us that the market is responding positively to this, right? So now the Fed has now promised us a minimum of 3 drops in 2024. So there's a couple of things that I think we need to pay attention to. The first one is months of inventory.
Okay.
Right now, we are sitting out between 2.5 to 3 months of inventory in Phoenix, Arizona.
Very low.
That is low. That is when you have that low inventory, that's a seller's market.
Is it normal? Is a balanced market 6 months?
That's a balanced market. Yeah.
Okay.
And then over 6 months, that's a seller's. That's a buyer's market,
sure.
right? So we are far beyond a buyer's market. Now, I think the 2 most important data points to look at are going to be months of inventory and days on market. Here's why. The only risk that I see in the market are the 4%ers. Because the 4%ers, when the rates get to 5.5 and 5, which they will likely do, the delta between 4 to 5, 4 to 5.5, it's not enough to stay put.
It's not that motivating.
It's not that motivating, right? It's not. But even 2 to 5 is still too much. So those people are going to keep those homes. They're going to turn them into rentals, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, whatever they do, they're keeping those properties. But the others, those 4%, the 4%ers, that's the risk, right? And so it's going to be interesting to see the speed at which they come onto the market. Nothing ever happens all at once.
So those are people who bought their house in 2019.
Right.
That's around when we were at 4%.
Right.
2019. Yeah.
Or they like
or their credit, or
yeah.
credit got them to 4, and they didn't have a good enough credit score to get to a 2 when they were offering 1% rates. So whatever that is, we have to look at days on market because that's going to tell us what demand is looking like and months of inventory. And as long as you're watching those two data points, I think you can predict where the market will go in 24. Right now, based on the volume that we've seen and the uptick that we've seen at Keegley, not only in our corporate stores, but in the franchises, there's been a roughly 25% uptick in volume. And that 25% uptick in volume is telling us that investors are predicting that they need to have inventory on the market within the next 90 days to 4 months.
Yeah, my investors are saying, hey, can you find us a house right now? Because we want to be on the market. Sorry, we want to be on the market for March. So find us something right now so we can be on the market for March because we like to get things in and out in 6 weeks, right? So find it now. I want to be on the market in March.
That's it. What are you seeing in title?
I mean, we've seen an uptick in appointments. I mean, every conversation I'm having with people, they're in living rooms more than they were expecting. A lot of times I feel like people don't really go back to work till after the Phoenix Open, but this year they've already been back to work and appointments are up. Definitely, we've had a lot of more open escrows. I've had several of our groups predicting double and triple the volume that they had in November and December.
So are you guys hiring more escrow officers, or do you wait for that? Is there a lag? Do you wait for things to become busier before you start staffing for it, or do you? Is there something there?
You know, we have a special guest here that I would love to
let's have her out
answer that question. Let me go see if I can grab her.
Okay. While she's doing that, guys, I can't really see the screen here, Bobby, because my eyes are old. How many people have vision boards out there?
Bunch. There's at least 7 people that said yes, and then on Instagram there was a few that said yes as well. We're live on Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Try and scoot this closer for you.
Your eyes are old. Is that what you said?
Yeah. I have old eyes. Sorry, guys.
I've heard of old soul. I haven't heard of old eyes.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be able to see well. Amazing. So people have vision boards. How have your guys' experiences been with those boards, guys? Have your vision boards manifested? Have you guys been disappointed? Are you still waiting for things to happen? Tell me more about what that has looked like for you guys.
Tim has this on his.
Tim Turner says, I got a house, 2 vehicles, a pile of cash, and an image of a very well-built meet. Tim, amazing. Very good. I actually had a photo of like not a fit person, but like a muscle arm. And even, hi, nice to see you. Can you introduce yourself to our audience, please?
Diane.
Who are you, Diane?
I work for Fidelity.
What do you do?
I work with Dina.
What do you do?
I run the operation.
So she's the boss. Apparently, she's the boss. So, well, welcome, boss.
Well, thank you.
I told you guys we were gonna have some special guests.
We've got.
today.
We are doing. You're doing a
doing one
vision board too. But I got some questions for you.
Oh, okay.
Big questions for you. So, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of this because cool. I'm gonna do the whole Mario Lopez thing. Okay. Yeah, it's for the best. Okay, so I was wondering, you must be predicting an uptick in volume.
Correct.
And
For the year, yes.
Okay. And what percentage do you think is going to happen?
I think first quarter is going to be flat, and then second, third, and fourth is going to increase, and we're going to be up on the residential side 5% year over year.
5%. You're calling a 5% increase in volume?
Year over year. Mm-hmm.
Year over year. Okay, so that's a very conservative outlook. Is that purposeful?
Yes.
Okay. It's because you don't want to overstaff. You want to make sure that you guys are staying, really grounded with your expectations of what's coming. How hard was 2023's just, with volume decreasing the way it was? How did that affect title?
Well, it affected us big time, obviously. And again, I think with the real estate community in a whole, we had to be very strategic in staffing. And but I think times like this, there's opportunities.
Always, because it makes you more efficient. And it was actually what spawned this podcast, because not that Fidelity Title didn't always have a great relationship with their investors, but I think Fidelity really understood early on, hey, our investor business is important, and we really want to make sure that we understand the types of business that they're doing, what those strategies are, how we can support them, how we can help increase their business, how we can understand the nuance of that business so that we can go out there and look for more. Did focusing on the investor market make a big difference?
Absolutely. 100%.
What, how could you quantify it?
Oh my gosh. Dina, can you help me quantify it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just compared to just our local competitors, I mean, it's definitely been something that has been a focus, and it shows in the volume, and it shows in the relationships and the strength.
Well, and I think we did as well as we did in 23 because of our investor mix. We were very intentional on building that.
Mhm.
And I remember actually
We were at
coming to the
lunch.
conference in
Yeah.
in Vegas, where I gave a presentation to a lot of your sales staff about how to go after the investor business, and that was early.
It was very
I mean,
early.
the market was crazy still then.
Yes.
So
And that was Diane's idea.
you really like saw ahead of the time. You were like, guys, I think we're gonna need to make some pivots here, and it was very. I almost wish that I had like seen the writing on the wall as quickly as you did, because we probably could have sold some things earlier if I had been like, why is Title so interested in what is happening? But I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful because it our relationship at Keegley, the Keegleys across the country, and Fidelity Title has strengthened. We have so many people within the community, the investor community, who are reaching out, wanting to do business with Fidelity Title. But there's a few questions that we just want to kind of ask, because it's, you're new and the people don't know you, and everybody wants to know, how does the boss become the boss? So I'm going to let Dina actually ask you these questions, because she probably wouldn't be able to or feel comfortable asking you this if I didn't put her on the spot.
Oh, she will.
But I'm gonna do it anyways.
Okay.
Okay, so how about, why don't you just tell us how you got started in the business?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I think most of us who are on the title side, we get into it by accident, right? I mean,
Well, we don't go to college thinking I want to grow up to be in title.
no. I went down to U of A and started with a bank and learned pretty quickly that banking was pretty much in a little box, and that wasn't going to fit for me. So been in title for 38 years now, and started on the escrow side and kind of worked my way up. I was 25 years in a branch, and which I love that I had that experience, because I think that sitting in that seat helps me manage, the operation.
Yeah. What it's like
Yeah.
to be in that position, and you're not afraid to do any of
Right.
those roles, whatever it takes.
Right. And I think for me personally, what I love about this business is, even though it's very technical on the escrow side, it's still very sales oriented. And so it fit for me, my personality. I got to use both sides of my brain and loved every minute of it. Still do.
And one of the things I love and appreciate about you is you don't just do things in a box.
No.
Here's a question from our audience.
Oh,
Is the metric
Is there a metric?
that is yes, well, not within every that's a really good question. Is there a metric that is tracked internally on traditional business versus investor business?
yes.
Internally, we track every sector of business. So yes,
We do. And for us, we're again pretty unique in the
Yes.
title space. Our mix is about 25% investor, which is very high as compared to everyone else.
and we track every sector,
Yeah.
like refinance, commercial, builder, all of it, and have a pulse on everything, because if you can't measure it,
can't grow it.
you can't grow it, and you have no benchmark to see what where
Yep.
where you're going.
Yep.
All right, well, so guys, I love this, because we are totally putting Diane on the spot. She
really
just was
are.
not even she was coming to do vision work. She did not know she was going to be live with us today. So
You got bacon sliced today.
Yeah, apparently I sure did.
Okay, so this is a fun one. How about you've seen a lot in the business. What about any like ghost stories about like a file or a transaction that was just kind of kept you up at night? Now
Whoops.
we've even heard about, I mean, some people have talked about like buried bodies, things like that,
Hold
but
on. Can I share
yeah.
with you a story that I'm not gonna-
Rahima shared her ghost stories with us before
I'm
too.
not going to share the name of the investor who sent this to me because I believe that he is going to be dropping a YouTube video about it here very shortly. But I will say this, okay? There was an article recently released in Colorado of an investor buys a new property, or investor buys a resale property and finds human head in freezer.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh, he didn't look at the house ahead of time?
No, so what happened was he purchased this property not on purpose. He was doing a transactional funding deal for one of his community members. And in that transactional funding deal, he closed the A to B, and there was a week lag between the A to B to the B to C.
Wow.
And in the B to C, the buyer walked the property, and the buyer found the head.
Oh.
Wow.
Found the head in the freezer and was like, I'm done. I'm out.
What do you do though?
It's a crime scene now.
Well, it is a crime scene.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yep. So anything like that?
No, I can't. Let's go to the next question. Yeah, let's go to the next. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How do you one up that?
I
right?
know. That's
Exactly.
a
How do you? You don't.
And I know exactly how they found the head. I know it, because they didn't turn on the power. In that lag, they forgot to turn on the power. So the head, no,
where
the head has a scent. It's like it starts to rot.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't turn on the power during that time, and then
Oh,
that's otherwise. Why would you open the freezer?
Right, because there must have just been a decrepit
There was
smell.
a decrepit smell.
And so he was like, is there a dog, a cat, or something in here?
Something is in here rotting, and it was a head.
Oh, terrible. So yeah,
Ugh.
you know, not the best.
not the best.
Not the best. So okay,
So,
moving on.
Yeah,
more-
we'll move
more
on to something
positive.
a little bit simpler. So, you know, most of our audience here they are investors of all scales, right? So some people that are brand new in the business, they've never done their first deal. Some people that are very, very seasoned. Any advice that you have for investors when it comes to the relationship with the title company?
You know, my motto in life has been, and I think it definitely works for the investors as well, is, you know, staying humble, staying coachable, and staying curious. And I just really believe that. And I love that you guys have this community where you're kind of leading the charge and
Doing my best.
mentoring, and because that's so important, especially for younger folks. And I feel I have such a passion for the younger generations coming behind us, that we can truly help make a difference and help them be better than we ever
Right.
could be on our own.
Right.
So that, to me, that's
It was you know, an interesting. I had a podcast with Cody Sperber recently, and he said something to me that was really, really impactful. He said, you know, and all the people that you have coached, and you know, Astro is over 5,000 members now, getting close to 6,000. And you know that, and we're like half the size, if not less than half, even of what Sub 2 is. Sub 2 is like, you know, over 10,000 people, right? So just within these you know, two dudes, Pace and Jamil, right? We've got over, you know, let's just call it 15,000 active enrolled community members. That's just Sub 2 Astro. Then there's Gator community, and there's top tier transaction coordination, and that's, so we can add another 5,000. So let's just say collectively 20,000 people that are a part of this collective community, and that's just from the impact of 2 individuals who are showing and paving a path that is how to do business in a way that's meaningful and will actually
and do it the right way.
and do it the right way. Because I think, you know, when I remember coming to Phoenix, I had to cold call title companies to find out who would want to do business with a wholesaler, because y'all were not friendly to us in the beginning, right? It wasn't about, not Fidelity specifically, title companies and the industry in general was just like, it was like wholesaler, you know? So it was like, you really had to, and so you kind of had to know a guy who knew a lady who worked at the place, who was comfortable with them. And not every, so if it was like you were with Security Title or Fidelity Title or whatever title, it didn't mean that all of them would do wholesale deals or assignments or anything like that. No, it was specific branches. And in that specific branch, only specific escrow officers who felt comfortable with the model in order to do that type of business. Double escrows, assignments, even the creative stuff came a little bit later even. And so we had a really hard time getting people to do business with us, right? It was just like, they're like, no, we don't do that. In fact, there were so many escrow officers when I would call and I'd say, hey, I'm wanting to do a double escrow. Do you guys do those? Oh, that's illegal. And, we now know that that's not the case, but it was a miseducation, right? The miseducation of the industry. And it came from a bad reputation. It came from open files, no EMDs, no cancellations, ghosting agents, ghosting sellers, letting inspection days pass, having sellers coming in and sign, getting into U-Hauls, waiting to move out, and nothing happening. And having that story happen over and over again to where you're thinking, why would we ever want to put ourselves at risk of doing a transaction with somebody who doesn't know how to perform? Can you tell me from just the perspective of the title of, from your level, because you are at a pretty high level, how has the sentiment adjusted?
I think it depends on the company.
Okay.
I still think there are some companies out there that are just more conservative in nature, and that's okay. That's their model. I know for us, and having grown up on the escrow side, especially, I like to live in a world where there's lots of color. There's nothing black and white.
Right.
So I think there's always things and ways that you can do things. You just have to be creative. So I think overall, there's been a big shift. I mean, especially 38 years I've been doing it, but it still is not across the board.
Wow. And I think that, this podcast itself is one of those things that I think will help adjust and move the narrative along. But it's interesting. And really as the market continues to evolve, and as we start to see more and more like regional housing markets instead of a national housing market, which is another thing that you might want to speak to right now, because it's a complete misunderstanding that people have that there's a US housing market. There is no such thing as a US housing market. It doesn't exist anymore. There was a US housing market. We don't have a US housing market now. We have a regional housing market. How did you guys wrap your heads around that? Because it took a big shift in thinking and a real big shift in perspective. And when you guys first started seeing that, what did it do because of course there had to have been people at your level having conversations in closed rooms thinking, what the F is going on?
Right. What I love about Fidelity is I think, we're the largest title insurance company, but we don't feel it. So they allow us on a very granular level. At the local level, we know our market better than anyone else. And, our corporate office is back in Jacksonville, and they do not at all know or even think that they know what's really going on in all of our markets. Our market is so unique. I mean, we're not even the same as Tucson,
right,
or as Northern Arizona. So it's very granular that we get down.
Amazing. That's really great insights, Diane. Any last questions?
And you were curious about, so we are expecting some growth this year. Yeah. We're expecting growth in our residential market, which does encompass the investor circuit. And you had asked, how do you prepare for staffing that on the escrow side, right?
Yeah, that was a question I'd asked Dina, but she was like, no, I'm not the right person to ask. because we think about it, right? To give you an example, we saw, and I'm going to be really broad here in saying that it's not, there's going to be outliers and whatnot, but approximately a 25% uptick in volume in the beginning of the year. And that's a lot in a short amount of time. And so, we have questions as well, having an operation the size of Keighley. There's like, well, how do you staff for that? Do you staff in anticipation and then grow into it? Do you hold? Do you stretch and press your people to a point where at that point you're like, okay, hey, that you've outgrown that suit. We gotta get you another suit.
That is always a hard. I mean, that's very hard to
yeah.
answer. But I mean, I think for me personally, what I do, it's a gut feeling. So I trust my gut. And because the fact of the matter is, whether it's your business or our business, there's a ramp up period for training. And so I'm always recruiting, and I'm always looking for talent. And I'm always, especially those young college grads, I know who's who out there. And so I'm ready for when that tide turns, that I can pull the.
And she's always meeting with people.
Always meeting with people, even
there
when it's
might not
slow.
be a position today that's necessarily the right fit, but it doesn't mean there won't be like in the future.
Right.
Yeah.
So you take on talent
Absolutely.
and you hold it.
Absolutely. And I'd rather build on talent organically.
I love that. That's wonderful.
Well, it makes them more loyal with you. It doesn't matter what business you're in,
Yeah.
right? It
Mhm.
makes them more loyal. You know that they're trained the way that you want them trained. I mean, there's so many advantages to their organic growth.
Well, and the average tenure of an employee at our company has to be
Oh.
over 15
Oh, it
years,
I don't know of
which-
another company that has that.
Yeah.
That's very high.
Yeah, it's very, very
Mhm.
high. And it was interesting that you asked that question too, because like I had the conversation with your admin team late in November about what they were looking for. And, expectation was, hey guys, just so you know, we're adding to our staff in February because we're expecting an increase in volumes. If you know anybody we should talk to now, please let us know. That was in November.
Right.
So, I mean,
So it's always,
That's it.
always forward looking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
yeah. And that was
Yeah.
just your ops team.
Yeah. And I feel a little disconnected sometimes because
They're on it.
they're on it. And
Yeah.
we've got some incredibly talented people, part of the Keegley organization that I'm very, very proud of. And actually, we gave out our 2023 awards, and the award winners are in my stories. So if you guys have a chance, look in my stories on my Instagram.
Oh, congratulate them.
And you guys can, send them a DM and let them know that they're bad asses. Sorry, I hope I don't get kicked out of YouTube for that. Here's a question for, actually, there's a couple things here. This is one of the most, I think, Diane, you're going to really like that we're bringing this up because we're in an audience of wholesalers right now, mainly. If you send a freshly signed purchase and sale agreement to a title company, and a few days later you want to cancel, is there anything owed to a title company for opening escrow and the title search?
No. I'm going to
No.
say no.
No, right.
Now
We're talking, and we should get into etiquette.
Yes. I mean, because the fact of the matter is, it is a hard cost for us to pull.
What
We
is
pay.
What does that cost?
We
It's
pay.
a hard cap. It's
Can you share?
$500.
Okay,
So it's a hard cost
For our company. It could be
us.
more for
So
others.
It could be more for others or less, but it's probably about in the same ballpark. So it's a hard cost. And but how I look at it is, if something cancels, just bring the deal back to us.
right.
I mean, that's all.
I actually, in my early days as a wholesaler, made an agreement.
We had conversations about this because I tracked his cancellation rate.
Yeah. And
back in the day.
Early on, especially when I was just getting started, you really don't know where your numbers need to be, right? And you're kind of feeling out the market, you're feeling out your buyers, and so you're taking shots that aren't necessarily sure things. And when I'm sending in a freshly signed agreement into the title company and you guys receive it, you guys are opening title immediately, you're doing a title search immediately, and then 9 days later you receive a cancellation. That's a loss. And it doesn't matter if I do 10 closes with you, but then I have 10 cancellations. Did we do anything but spin our tires? And so even though you might have inched out a little profit out of that, not enough to have kept everybody busy and kept things going, because you're paying your people, right? You're still paying your escrow officer for the closing and all the pieces.
Well, you got to pull title on a new buyer every single time.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not like you can use the last one to
Right.
carry over. When you get a new buyer, we pull title again.
So when you assign, you have to do a new title search
If it's a new buyer.
if there's a new buyer name.
Mhm.
Okay,
But
so
So if there's
Full
like
new
6
buyer.
legs, you're pulling it 6 times if there's
No.
okay.
No. If we've got assignments like that going, we can.
You
pull
just
Yeah,
it
pull
but
it
if it's a
once.
full-on cancellation and then
an
there's
amend
Got it.
yeah.
as we're going
Okay.
along.
Okay. Understood. Understood. So guys, let me kind of help you out with etiquette here. So this is what Dina and I had talked about early on in our relationship and saying, look, I don't know if what I'm going to do with this deal. I'm very likely going to wholesale it because that's what I do. And we might flip it because we were flipping a few properties, like fixing and flipping. So we were really just keeping the super, super good ones. But we're most likely going to assign this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send in my contract. I'm going to deposit my EMD
Always.
right away. But I don't want you to pull title until I've assigned the deal. I don't want you to do a title search until I've assigned the deal. And then as soon as I've assigned the deal, I would send it in. And then now I know that there's a rush. Now I know you guys are kind of speeding through it and all the things, but everybody was so much happier with that situation because they were like, you know what? Now we know this is a sure thing. So even if we have to do this on a rush, it's way better for us to do that than have to cancel, close, cancel, close. Like that's not fun for anybody, right? So have the etiquette, have the conversation with your title company. Guys, this is why it's so important that you build a relationship with not only the escrow officer at your title company, but with the people behind the escrow officers, the people in the marketing, the people in the, I actually didn't get to meet Diane for a few years. You don't typically get that relationship with the higher ups until, I don't know if people get that, but I'm honored for it, but it's cool. But at least have the conversation with the equivalent of your escrow officer and the Dina in your market. So you need to understand what moves the needle for them. And if you can get into alignment with what's moving the needle for your title company, guess what they're going to do for you? They're going to move into alignment with what moves the needle for you. And what moves the needle for you? Hey, I'd really like to be introduced to more buyers. Could you help me with that? Well, of course we could. Hey, I would like to put on a meetup. You have an A-class property here with this incredibly big meeting room that appears that nobody uses. Would you mind if we did a meetup in your title office? And you'll feed people too? Like, these are the kinds of things that your title company will do because they see that you are moving into alignment into their business model and they want to move into alignment into your business model. Would you say that that is something that is industry-wide, or is that just what happens here? Are you guys just nicer in Arizona?
I think there's probably pockets, but one thing that you said that was very, very impactful, Jamil,
Yes.
is it's about transparency.
Yes.
So I think whatever you guys out there, I think it's being transparent. So whoever you're working with, it's just saying, hey, or hey, this is my first deal and I'm not
I don't know
100%
yet.
sure what I'm
Yeah.
doing. Be transparent because then that's where you have that relationship and you guys can build it together.
Now, how do you keep that conversation from finding its way to a listing agent, for instance? Because think about it this way, right? I'm brand new. I lock up a deal and I'm dealing with first time I'm doing a deal with a listing agent. And it's maybe my first time dealing with this title company. And I'm transparent. When I come in and I say, hey, I just bought this course called Astro Flipping. It's pretty good. I did something called agent outreach, and I got this deal. It's a pocket listing from an agent. I think it's good. And Jamil comped it for me on one of my Tuesday calls, and kind of looks like it's a good deal. So I'm like 70% sure we're going to do good on this thing, but we're not really sure yet. How comfortable will that conversation be? And should somebody wait, or what's the right way to handle that? I'm not saying to lie, but when do you show the transparency? When do you come in and say, all right, here's the game?
I think you have it right away.
I do too.
But I don't
I
think-
agree.
I don't think you put it in writing.
No,
Agree.
I think you make a call.
or in person, even better.
Yeah.
Or
Either
in
you
person
make, or
better.
either you drive yourself down to the title
Yeah.
agency, or you pick up the phone and call the agent. But you don't do it in writing. You
Right.
make sure nobody's CC'd on anything, and you do it right away. That's how I feel you should do it.
No, I agree 100%. I have those conversations with a lot of the folks that actually watch Title Talk, right? They'll call me and they'll say, hey, I'm driving for dollars. I just stumbled on a deal. I think it's a sub 2. Well, I'll get on a 3-way call with the escrow officer. Turns out it's not really a sub 2. It's more of like a wrap or something else is going on there. And we'll talk them through how to structure the deal, right? Because they don't know yet. Or sometimes they'll say, I really probably should have a JV partner on this, but I don't know anybody in the community yet because I'm so new. Who can you connect me to that's going to maybe show me the ropes, right? And I can cut them in on this. And we can have those conversations. And I agree with you. It's not in writing thing. It's a conversation with, whoever you're working with on the sales side. And then, when it's appropriate, they will loop in escrow will definitely talk through the logistics on the transaction and point you guys in the right direction.
Awesome. I think
we're having some fun here tonight. Yeah.
A lot of good information that I feel we're sharing today. Diane, you've been in the business a minute, and
she doesn't look like it though.
No, you look great. But looking at it from the perspective of the experience, right? There's so many ways to get trapped in a deal, like trapped in a deal, and you could get trapped in a deal where you lose your earnest money. You could get trapped in a deal where you're in litigation or mediation for your earnest money. You can get trapped in a deal where you could get sued for specific performance. You could be, but you could also, there's for instance, one of the tricks I learned was when I write my contracts, if I write cash/hard money, even though I have a 10-day inspection, 3 days before close, I can get a loan denial letter from my hard money lender and I can still get my EMD back, which is something a lot of people don't know.
And we've never talked about that on Title Talk, actually.
On Title Talk. That is that was one of my ninja tricks from and this guy, I'm telling you, this is like secret ninja trick.
But you had to have written on your contract cash or hard money. So if you only wrote cash, that wasn't going to work.
It would never work.
Are you doing proof of funds and a letter from the hard money lender?
It would have to be. It would have to be a loan denial letter from the hard money lender denying the loan for whatever purpose that would then cancel out the escrow.
But we wouldn't show proof of funds on those. We would just show them
when you're submitting the contract to get it at the beginning.
Would come from the hard money lender in the first.
So you're not showing them a bank balance. So he's asking, are you showing them a bank balance as well as a letter from?
When you're using a private money lender or a hard money lender, they're always providing the proof of funds.
Right. So it says cash, but really it's cash /
hard money.
Hard
private money. Do you have any? Because that's one of my favorite ninja tricks or the Binzer extension. Okay, so guys, I'm going to teach you guys another one today, which is
you're getting all kinds of good stuff on Title Talk today. Everybody's watching on Friday night.
Favorites. Okay, so you're on day 9 of your inspection, and you've got a buyer who's like, "I want it, I'm going to take it, but I can't get earnest money in." Now, again, this is assuming that you've had the conversation with your title company and they haven't done a title search and you haven't put them in a bad spot, okay? That everybody is kind of in the know with you and they know what's going on, right? So what you can do is you can send what's called a BINSR, which is the buyer inspector notice response. Buyer inspection notice response, right?
Seller's response.
Seller's response, yes. Notice seller's response, right? BINSR. So now, if you ask for an egregious reduction on the BINSR, there's one of two things that happen. Okay.
Well, define egregious.
Well, I mean, to where it was so big that if you got it, you'd be like, there's no way I wouldn't just buy this myself right now. Because
so you're asking for like $30, $40, $50, $60,000 price reduction.
Yeah.
You're not saying, you're not saying fix the roof. You're saying we're going to buy a new roof.
Yeah. I'm saying like, hey, do a $75,000 price drop or we're going to cancel. Now, here's what's going to happen. Very likely they're going to respond to you that same night saying, rejected, but you now have 5 more days to respond to the rejection. 5 more days.
In Arizona.
In Arizona. Guys, this is in Arizona. So read your contracts in other states. But it is, I don't know, I would say that I have done at least 50 deals where I use the extra 5 days to get my buyer plugged in, get the EMD in, get everything in, and then I'll come back and say, it's okay, we don't need. But then now I have more negotiation, right? Because I asked for I anchored at 75. Now that I've got my buyer in at my original price, now I can be like, well, how about 30?
Yeah.
And then they're like,
And now the problem is the seller is saying, geez, so all these things have been uncovered in my property that I didn't even know about. And now I'm going to have to disclose them to every future buyer. So if you can negotiate this number from 70 to 50, I'll take it.
And in that case, are you doing an and or a signing on the original contract in order to slip somebody new in?
I would very likely double escrow that or do transactional funding on that. And then I would not even double that. I would close AB with transactional funding. I'd wait 3 days, close BC.
Okay.
Because I think that would make me feel the most confident and comfortable in that kind of a situation, because I would never want there to be a simultaneous close and disclosure sheets needing to be signed for pass-through funding in a situation where I not only bought an extra 5 days, but then renegotiated an extra 50 grand off at my original sale price, which now turns a deal which was going to be like a cancellation into a grand slam.
Well, and the difference is you're talking about somebody who's getting like super greedy versus somebody who's actually just trying to get a deal done that's equitable, right? Like there is a difference.
I only use these tactics in specific situations, this is why, guys, it's so important to get into your title officer's office and read the contract and understand what everything means. Because once I understood that there's 5 days extra on the response, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the craziest thing that I've ever seen in my life. And
well, and so just so you guys know, a typical escrow officer in our operation, they'll close 100 deals a month.
Yeah.
So just think of how many different contracts they're seeing, how many different scenarios they're seeing that end up in litigation, so they are a wealth of information for everyone. I mean, they know how to write a contract and how to keep everyone out of trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like we had like one of the most like fascinating conversations today. We got to meet Diane from the ivory tower of Fidelity. Was that?
That is so not her. Yeah. By the way, that is so not her.
We are going to now get into our vision boards. And before we like sign off, because we're going to be done here in about 6 minutes, I want to set some intentions, and I want to present our word for the year, or our word for our board, right? So for me, I personally had lots of challenges that I overcame over the year that I found were a cause of massive imbalance in my life in many ways. And so the one thing that I'm really looking for in my life right now is balance. That's my word for 2024, 2025, 2026, till all the things, until I'm balanced. That's my word. Okay. That's my word.
Bobby, I think he's going to have to start doing yoga with you.
Not on airport floors, because that's disgusting.
You have one person. We have Alejandro in here. You guys want to take your question?
Yeah, please. What's the question? Hi.
Hi there. I had put some questions in the chat. So I'm right now, I've actually signed a purchase contract today from a wholesaler. He already opened up escrow with the title company, but it's a title company I had a very bad experience with. And I was wondering, is there anything I can do about that? And then also just how do I vet like a title company, especially when I'm investing from long distance?
Both great questions. Where are you working?
Questions.
I invest in Ohio in the Cleveland area, and I'm in California in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay, so you're doing deals in Cleveland.
Yes.
Okay. So here, this is where your relationship with your wholesaler, it becomes really important. because you want, as a buyer, to educate the wholesaler that you're working with on a good title company to work with. Like if you had a bad experience with this title company, you want to educate that wholesaler, hey, open title at this other company, because, and I'm sure that there's a Fidelity office in Ohio that you could get referred to that could be very good. But I would have the conversation now, because they have already open title there. Here's some risks that you're running in moving it. They've got to cancel everything, including the original purchase contract. So if a higher offer came in behind that wholesaler's offer, which typically happens on investment properties, and sellers sometimes are like waiting for that opportunity to take a better deal, and you then ask for this title transfer, the title to be moved to another office, you're risking losing that deal because of the bad experience that you're making the entire escrow move forward. That's true, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, it may just even be the individual. If you had a bad experience at a title company, it could just be one individual, and there may be 100 others, and maybe find out, hey, are you equipped to handle a wholesale transaction and get the right person?
And is this the first transaction that you've done with this other person that you're doing the deal with?
With the wholesaler? Yes, it would be my first transaction with this particular wholesaler. And, you know, like, it was interesting. So as soon as we signed the purchase agreement, like you said, okay, can you, you know, wire the EMD? I'm going to send you wiring instructions. I said, wait a minute, I've never taken the instructions from the wholesaler. It always comes from the title company.
Yeah, that seems really fishy.
That's a red
flag.
Super
okay, I wanted to confirm that, because I was like,
that's a red flag.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. And so, and I did call the title officer, because, you know, like I have worked with him before, and I was kind of like, hey, I'm like, remember me? We had a not so good experience, and, you know, and I have, you know, I just signed the purchase agreement for this property, and he confirmed that it was the title was open there at his office. And I said, is everything going to go right this time? And that's my thing, is like, what can I even do to make sure things go well? Because last time, well, this kind of long story short, he told me that he was the title escrow officer, everything was going with him. It turned out it was going through a totally different company, and he wasn't even involved in it.
That all sounds really fishy.
So weird.
And like, you're
reselling title.
Yeah. And wire instructions should be sent directly from title in encrypted form. And they will only send wire instructions one time. So
they will
call to verify.
To send the wire too. That's another thing that happens all the time. So
And I will just tell you a best practice here, because this is a very common question when it comes to a new relationship with, you know, somebody that you're doing wholesale transactions with. So sometimes they'll tell them, hey, by the way, I've had a really, you know, not so great experience with this title company. We'll try it your way once, but if it doesn't go as planned, for all future deals, can we please agree mutually to go this other direction? And then typically it's a really easy move all the business to some place that you guys mutually trust together, but it is a little bit difficult the first time.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Good luck, girl.
Well,
thank you so much.
What's your word for 24?
Yeah. What's your one word this year?
My word, I do have a word. I wrote it down, everything. I'm like, which one was it? Well, I wrote 2: patience and persistence.
Beautiful.
Ooh.
Great to meet you. Much
Great
love, and thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again. Okay, so I gave my word, Diane.
Empower.
Ooh. We've got to add their words to the tree, Mom. We got to add their words to the tree tonight. Yeah. My word this year is warrior. Yeah. And it means a lot of different things for me. So I'm excited.
I'm picking this mic up. Okay, so my word is non-negotiable.
That's 2 words.
Well, it's a hyphenated word.
Okay.
Because I feel like I'm constantly negotiating what I'm supposed to be doing, or how I'm supposed to, or what I'm feeling, and I'm constantly negotiating so that I'm making everybody else in the room happy.
Does that make you feel compromising of your values?
Constantly being compromised. Yeah. So I'm saying this is non-negotiable. Sorry. Non-negotiable. This is my non-negotiable. Take it or leave it.
I love it.
I love it.
You got love in the chat for that.
Hey, by the way,
Rahima.
you're surrounded by amazing women tonight. Let's talk about that for a second.
You know, Jamil has always been surrounded by amazing women.
I have been.
Starting from his mom,
Yep.
starting from his like birth
Yep.
till
My wife.
his wife,
you,
his daughters,
Yep,
his
my
niece, his like he's
everybody.
always been surrounded by beautiful, strong,
women,
competent,
Like
wonderful, caring women.
Yep. And I think it's because I was around you guys and raised. I feel I was raised by my sister. We were latchkey kids, right? So, mom and dad worked 12-hour days, and so having a sister like Rahima to be able to have taken care of me all those years made me somewhat of a better guy. But I've always got more to learn and farther to go.
Well, you guys, if you're watching this and you've got a one word for 2024, drop it in the chat. We want to hear it. We want to lift them up. We want to encourage
Clarity,
you.
nice. I like that.
One word will change your life. I'm a firm believer. My mom turned me on to this. I don't know how many years, a dozen or so. Her word this year is certainty.
Certainty.
Oh, beautiful.
Love that.
Wonderful.
Love that.
Certainty.
Yes.
We've got exposure from Robert.
Ooh.
He's gonna get himself out there. You do that, boy. We've got mindset from Latanya. Anything else, guys? Any other words we want to put in here before we sign off? Consistency. I love it, Linda.
We hope you guys are having fun with us on the first Title Talk of 2024. We are excited to bring you a lot of really great content this year. And if there's anything you guys want to chat about, any topics you guys want us to explore, any markets that we should dive into for you, definitely let us know.
Elevation. And yes, if you guys, and one last plug for anybody doing business in Arizona, I would highly recommend you reach out to titletalk@fnf.com. Send an email, say I'm doing business wherever you're doing business. Email titletalk@fnf.com and let us know where you're doing business. If there's a relationship that Dina can make for you, she will always make it. But especially if you are doing business in Arizona, we want to bring your business to the incredible team that we've been working with. And so email titletalk@fnf.com. Until the next episode.
Happy New Year, everybody.